the main topic right now is still around what is going to happen next year with the Baltimore Orioles. And there was a move today. Harrison Bader is signing with the Giants. So don't get your hopes up there. But that's one move that's happened. That's an outfielder off the books. But that's not what everyone's looking at. They're looking at when will Framber Valdez sign? And is that going to be in Baltimore? Well, Jim Bowden was on Foul Territory today to talk about this whole situation and him saying that there's still an expectation where he signs, but Framber Valdez apparently has to come to terms with what the deal is going to look like. So let's play that clip for you.
Kind of fascinating watching Framber. Of all the free agents out there, he's the one that's it's kind of puzzling how he doesn't have a home yet. Now, when I talked to GMs throughout the sport, everybody over the weekend kept telling me he'll probably end up in Baltimore. Everybody thinks he's going to end up there. But we're kind of waiting on Framber to understand that the offers on the table is all he's going to get. Like, there's not going to be more money. There's not going to be more years. So why wait longer? I don't know. But I will say this. He fits with so many teams. The problem is a lot of teams don't want to spend the money. He fits for the Giants. I mean, to put him at the top of the rotation with Logan Webb and Robbie Ray makes a lot of sense when they're trying to get a wild card spot. I think he fits with Detroit because I think eventually they're going to have to trade Skubal between now and the trade deadline. The Phillies, I think, after losing out on Bichette, why not try to get Valdez on a short-term deal to replace Ranger Suarez, because you don't know for sure what Wheeler's going to look like coming off the IL. You don't know if Nola's going to have a bounce-back year, or if Andrew Painter, another year away from Tommy John, is going to live up to the potential. So it's a fit there. And Atlanta was kicking the tires on Valdez as well. So those are kind of the 5 teams that I keep hearing. But everybody in the industry thinks eventually he goes back to Baltimore. But they're kind of downplaying it too. They're like, you know what? Zach Eflin's, the last medicals on him were really good. We feel good about our 5-man rotation. But I still think probably, Scotty, that's the spot he ends up based on what everybody's telling me.
All right. So I've told you guys this. Nothing surprises me anymore in Major League Baseball. And when everyone thinks they know it, it doesn't happen. But why it makes sense is because the deal that Framber was hoping to get numbers-wise clearly isn't there. I think that is a very fair assessment. And for not just the Orioles, but other teams, they would prefer to stay away from longer-term deals. So it sounds like Framber's going to have to do a shorter deal, and it's going to have to be a little bit lower than the average annual value that he was hoping for. And he can still get a good payday, but now what is that best deal and best fit that you think you're going to get? And look, these teams have to make the choices. I've told you guys this. This is 2 weeks away from pitchers and catchers reporting. No team wants to go in not knowing if they're going to add a piece to their rotation or not. And all those teams could make a move. I could see it to an extent. I'd argue, guys, and this might be unpopular with Baltimore Orioles fans, whether the Orioles sign Framber Valdez to me to start the year isn't going to make or break what their focus needs to be going into the season. Their focus needs to be getting this team on the right schedule, getting guys acclimated and comfortable, because you made a ton of moves, and winning the offseason doesn't mean you're going to go and win the regular season. Go look to last year. The Mets, arguably, they had a very interesting offseason. Big splash with Soto. They made all these trades at the deadline, and they imploded. Mm-hmm. The D-backs made moves last year. They didn't reach their goals. They missed the postseason. So while, yes, of course, it would make a lot of sense for the Orioles, it would make a lot of sense for other teams in the part of this. If you're Baltimore and you're Craig Albernaz and you're that group, your focus is creating an environment where you can win and win by any means. And that starts in 2 weeks. That, to me, is the most important thing no matter what. But I do think this Framber situation has to be figured out, whether that's in Baltimore or not, Zach. I think that this is just it's baffling in some cases it's taking this long, but at the same time it's not, because as much as people want to say the thing with Framber last year didn't matter with his catcher, it 100% mattered. And it also mattered that the Orioles aren't the only team that's had these reservations, because if it was the case or wasn't the case, he would have signed a big deal and it would have been a month ago. But here we are, January 26th, recording this, and he's still a free agent.
You a Boris client, by the way?
No.
Okay. Just curious.
No. I mean, it's crazy to think how different this offseason would be if Anthony Volpe swings at a center sinker that ends up nailing the catcher in the chest. It does feel like that's the thing. Is you look at it, you're not questioning talent. You're not questioning his availability. I mean, he's making 30-plus starts. He's one of, if not the most consistent, what you're getting from Framber Valdez. He's probably the most consistent pitcher on the market. And as we've said hundreds of times, I feel like I've screamed this every time we even bring up Framber Valdez. If that stuff does not happen publicly, now listen, there may be things that happened behind the scenes in the clubhouse that make that look even worse or make it look better. We don't know, and we may never know until he's signed. If that does not happen, I think Framber Valdez is the guy that everyone would have been bidding for. He would have been the guy up there with Dylan Cease of, hey, teams are willing to give you 5 or 6 years. But that happened. Then suddenly it was Dylan Cease went off the board. Then Ronher Suarez is off the board. Well, Michael King right before him. And all these guys started trickling down. And instead of it kind of raising the value for Framber, and you thought, oh, man, he's got to be ecstatic. He's the last guy. It still feels like teams almost would rather kick the tires on Zach Gallen, because they're like, hey, at least we know maybe the locker room stuff isn't going to be there. I wouldn't be surprised if Valdez finishes with a 2-year deal, 3-year deal, opt-outs after 1 and 2. It feels like this is a guy who's going to want to right whatever wrong maybe is out there about him in one season and get back out on the market and try again. Because if you're talking about just in a vacuum, the talent, the guy who you hand a ball to every 5 days, there are not many better than Framber Valdez. And I don't think it's a talent issue for why he is not being signed and why people are so reserved on the years. One, pitchers don't get long years anymore. Dylan Cease is an anomaly. Committing 7 years is a lot to a pitcher in 2026. That does not happen every day. Everyone else is getting shorter term, high AAV contracts. I think that's what ends up happening with Framber.
My question to you, Rip, would be if not Framber Valdez, if he doesn't land in Baltimore, is it just that Baltimore indefinitely is just done with, they're happy with what they have, or that you still think that they're going to try to find another arm somewhere, whether it's through trade or free agency, whatever?
I think that they would kick the tire on a depth piece. I don't know what they're going to think. Let me back up. I don't know what Gallen's value is out there right now. Is it 20 mil a year? Is it 25? I do believe it's a 1 or 2 year deal for Gallen. I don't think he's getting more than that. So if that's the case, do you want to play that game with him, or would you rather go get a depth piece? But above all, the Orioles will probably add one more pitcher as a depth part of their rotation. They just need it. They need the depth. Yeah. But it goes back to this. Their rotation with what they have right now can start the season off fine, but it's as the season goes on, you're going to need to make sure that you are going to be aggressive if you're in position. So if it's not making a move now, it's making a move then. But above all, Brad and Zach, you touched on it. Teams have kind of drawn their foot in the sand on what they want to do and what they believe. And that's fine. And the biggest thing right now, if you're a Orioles fan or any team, your focus is how does our team get ready and the guys that we have to make sure that we're putting our best foot forward. Because one thing that the Orioles that's very, very vital to this situation is you are establishing with a first-year manager with some new pieces already, you are trying to get off on the right foot. So for me, that no matter what is the focus. And so if Framber's there and you feel comfortable having him there and all's good, great. But the focus for Baltimore is who do we have right now? How do we get these guys ready? And we have no excuses to not be great this year with or without Framber. And that to me is the focus in 2 weeks. But yes, Brad, depth piece, no matter what, the Orioles are going to probably get one more pitcher because they just don't have the full depth. But they do have enough to start this season off and have success. So that's all I really have. I mean, I just hate that it's the same kind of thing we keep talking about. It's just I wish I could say Framber didn't, this Framber thing, and people are saying it's enough of that nonsense. Clearly, it was enough of nonsense where it cost him tens of millions of dollars.
Right.
Yeah.
And years in contract.
And years in the contract. So that's all I have with that. But hey, guys, if you're new to the channel, hit that like and subscribe button. Ryan Ripken Show. We do this live every Monday through Friday right here on YouTube, X, and Facebook.